Welcome to Lovesick, the podcast, where we dive into health, wellness, and relationships and their impact on the world. Come be a part of the discussion. Join our community by following us on YouTube, Instagram, and listening wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Enjoy the show.
Welcome, everyone, to our Lovesick podcast. On my left is my beautiful daughter, Jada, and to my right is handsome Michael. And thank you for watching us again. We have a wonderful guest this morning. We have Habaka. I love saying that, Habaka. Welcome, Habaka.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Welcome. Hello. So glad to be on the Lovesick podcast.
Yes. And for those who don't know, Habaka is a 2019 BMA. You got the Jazz Singer Award, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Yes.
Is absolutely correct.
And you
for
are
For Las Vegas.
For Las Vegas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also an educator, a public speaker, holistic and meditation, advocate. And you also, the list goes on. I could be going on for 10 more minutes with you. So I'm going to cut it right there and we're going to just start.
Okay. All right.
So I'll let Michael.
Well, I guess we should probably start kind of in the beginning. If we start kind of with your childhood and kind of where everything began for you and kind of your background.
Well, the very beginning started in the womb of my mom. She was a vocalist, a jazz vocalist, and traveled all over the world. And I actually grew up on the carnival in my little years, eating hot dogs and French fries all day and riding rides all day on the roundup and all that stuff and seeing all of the entertainers. So it was in my blood from birth, actually. And my father, being a blues man with Bobby Blue Bland and B.B. King. He played the saxophone with B.B. King for more than 25 years. And with Bobby Blue Bland, the band leader for 16 years. And my grandfather was a pianist and advocate for the community of musicians. And it's just in my bloodline. That's the beginning, actually. And me, myself, I tried my best not to be a vocalist. And I just sang in the choir in school. And I loved being in the ensemble. And I actually studied dancing for 16 years. I thought I was going to be a professional dancer with the Alvin Ailey dancers. And which they did come to me and they tried to recruit me at the age of 12, 13. And my mother said no. And I have never been so upset with my mother in all my days. However, now as an adult, I understand that she was only doing what she felt was best for me. But that was the beginning of my music career and just growing up listening to music all the time. And my mother had me writing out all her jazz tunes and listening to Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald and Nancy Wilson and Connie Francis even. Oh my God. Now that does not say anything about my age, okay?
No, but it does probably say something about the depth of your soul.
It only says that I'm well seasoned in music and in the music, and I just absolutely love music. I love what I do, and that was really the beginning. Like I said, I really never really dreamt about being a professional vocalist. Like I said, and I was a cheerleader all through high school and junior high and, that kind of stuff, just being very athletic. Now as a little girl, we're not afraid. And my mom told me I used to go up on the stage all the time when she was on the stage and have my little Texas cowboy boots on. And she said, you wanted to wear those boots with everything. And she said, I would come up there on the stage and say, you talk too much because you worry me to death, and shaking. I would have never thought that, but because I'm very, very shy, even though most people who know me now say I don't have a shy bone in my body, but that's not true. It's not true. I just know how to hide it very well.
I think that's the secret of most good performers. I think most good performers, they like their private time, but when you get on stage, there's a purpose, right?
Exactly. And that is exactly right. I am an introvert. It's hard to get me out of the house. People will call me and say, can you meet us? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm all excited and everything. And then I talk myself out of it. I'm like, no, I don't need to go. Oh my God. I get paranoid around too many people. It's just, I got to get dressed and I have to think about what am I going to put on. And it's just way too much. So I am a very private person and I love being at home in my private space. I'm an only child, and so I do know how to entertain myself.
I always feel that music is like very therapeutic, like when listening to it. How about when you're just like when you're performing or coming up with songs and music? Does that feel like very therapeutic to you?
You know what? It is very therapeutic. And I believe that music, me being a vocalist, helped me even in my moments of depression, if I experience being sad or being unhappy, because once I was on stage and singing and doing what I really am passionate about and what I love, it was like I was my own therapist, so to speak, because through singing and putting out the emotions and the expression, because when you're singing, you're telling a story. And so a lot of times, I would always tell my students too that, sometimes you may be singing a song and maybe you're not wanting to feel those exact emotions at that moment, or maybe you're not ready to feel those emotions. Maybe it comes and hits you by surprise, that you were not even expecting to be feeling that. And you just have to learn how to just let it flow. Now, sometimes I may even actually cry, while singing a song. However, in my younger years of singing, if I did cry, I did not know how to control that emotion. But as you become more adapted and more seasoned and knowing how to handle your emotions, then I'm able to, yes, still show the emotion, but keep myself intact where I'm able to actually finish the song and perform. Great question. Thank you.
Yeah, and I have a follow-up on that because we're going to talk about health and wellness and all that kind of stuff, but I think there's a cathartic element to performing. I think it sneaks up on you. Emotion will sneak up on you when you really get into it. And I think that's the other part is sometimes it's the safest place for you to express that emotion, right? And it can overwhelm you in a way. And do you find that for you as well?
You're absolutely right. It is a safe place. And I always tell people being on stage for me is like my sanctuary. That is my sanctuary when I'm on stage because, as an artist, people accept a lot of things. And so because you are an artist, and so even if I am going through something or I'm able to even maybe express it on the stage, and they're more apt to be able to really feel what I'm feeling. And without knowing, a lot of times I'm also helping a lot of other people who may be going through the same exact thing. And you just don't know what people are going through. And that was another thing that I learned about being in the music industry and the type of music that I do, that I really have a chance to communicate with people and become intimate as well.
I don't think people realize how intimate that connection between people who are collaborating, but just the audience back and forth. You let your walls down. I don't think you
Yes,
can help it. And I think it kind of sneaks up on you at times. And I don't think you realize fully the connection that you have and the ability to touch people. It's the most beautiful part
yes,
of performing, is because people will come to you and they'll tell you what something you did meant to them. And
exactly.
even if you don't know, like, and even if that wasn't your intention, sometimes you connect on a level that's beyond words. It's beyond messages. Listen, I think any performer will tell you, knowing you have a place to go and a place to perform and a time, when you have a call time, all of life gets easier. Everything else kind of shifts away, right? Like all the other worries
Exactly.
fall away. And I think it's
Exactly.
beautiful.
You're like ready. And like you said, you just don't even know that you are helping someone or touching someone. And it may not even be your intention, because now me, before I go out on the stage, I always compose myself. I take a deep breath. I breathe to relax because uh like I said, I'm very shy and I'm very nervous because, of course, you want the people to like what you're doing. You want to be good. You worry sometimes. I worry about, oh my God, my voice might crack, or, I might not hit that note, but once I hit the first note, then I'm free. I'm okay. And I did learn while touring that what you said, sometimes after my concerts, people would come up to me and tell me thank you for giving them hope, or thank you for changing the way they were feeling that evening, that they didn't even want to come out, and that they were so glad that they decided to come to my concert. And so that was one really amazing way for me that God showed me that what I was doing was right, because I fought so much being a blues and jazz and gospel vocalist. And so a lot of times throughout my career, I had many confusion and emotional confusion of, oh my God, I'm singing the devil's music. Oh my goodness, this is not right. And da 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 da. But once I really went abroad and started touring and singing, and like I said, people actually walking up to me after a jazz concert or after a blues concert, crying their heart out and hugging me and saying thank you. I was like, okay, it's what I'm exuding to the person, to the people. It's what my energy, what I'm giving, my spirit, because I give all of me when I'm on the stage.
Habaka, speaking of that, when you said about your career and abroad, let's talk about Italy. I know that you traveled there, and let's talk about what prompted you to go to Italy.
Well, I was singing, and I was living in Atlanta, Georgia at the time, and I was singing in a gospel group, a gospel ensemble, and I was doing the marketing for the group. And so I was sending out lots of packages, trying to get us to be booked and everything. And once you send out 100, 200 packages, someone is going to respond. You just have to keep pushing through and keep going, right? And so someone responded. They liked our music, our show, and everything. And we were booked to go to Italy. We were there for 3 weeks. And our first show, that was my first time ever being out of the country, actually. And I was the lead singer for the gospel group. It was called The Burning Bush. And our first show was in Bordighera, and we opened up for Dee Dee Bridgewater. And I was like, oh my God, I was like starstruck, of course, and everything. I was like, Dee Dee Bridgewater too. But anyway, that's how I arrived to Italy. And during that tour is where I found out that I really wanted to do this for the rest of my life, that I wanted to be a professional vocalist. It had not been in my mind before. While I was singing with the gospel group, I was doing it to have fun and release and be able to sing. But I just love people, actually. I love people. I love working with people. I was working at the Marriott Hotel at the time as a manager and just having fun and working there 20 hours a day. But it was because I just become so passionate and I just love what I do and I love working. But when I got to Italy and I was sitting on the patio of my hotel room, just looking out and just thinking where I was and what I was doing, I was like, oh my God, I said, I could see myself doing this. I can see myself doing this. I like this. And I was like, wow, Lord, I see myself doing this. I think I can do this. And so returned back to Atlanta after the tour and the group broke up. And I was sitting on my bed one day, just looking at the poster from that tour. And down at the bottom of the poster was a really, really tiny writing. And it seemed like it just jumped out. And I was like, what is that at the bottom? And I went and looked, and it was the information, the contact information of the promoter, because I didn't have his contact information. Even though I was doing the promoting, I gave all of the material to the band leaders, and I didn't take or keep the information. And so when I saw that, I sent a fax.
Young people are like, what is that?
Okay,
We're gonna call
Can we explain what this is?
We're gonna call that an old school email. An email and a letter combined.
So that I remember what it sounds like. You're like,
Yeah, a special sound.
yeah.
So you're gonna have to teach everyone, give a quiz. What is a
Yeah.
fax? So I sent a fax to the promoter saying, I don't know if you remember me, but this is Habaka, and I was the lead singer for the Burning Bush. And I just wanted to let you know that if you need a vocalist, I'm available. And so that's what I did. And then I went on about my business. 2 weeks later, I come home from work and he responded and he said, of course I remember you. And he said, I will put a band together for you. And that is how I started going to Italy to tour. And I started going back and forth. I went back and forth maybe about 20 times before I decided to live there and experience a different culture. I didn't have children. I wasn't married or anything. And I was like, well, this is going to be a great experience. I think I'm just going to live here. My mom was like, have you lost your mind? I was like, no. She's like, you don't even speak the language. You don't know anyone. I'm like, well, I'll learn it. I can learn it, and so I did learn the language. I speak Italian fluently, and because you have to know what you're talking about when it comes to your business and your money. So I told her I would learn. Don't worry about that. And so, and that brought me to Italy, and I ended up living in Italy and teaching in the school system there, voice. And I lived there 24 years, and
Wow.
it was a wonderful experience, something I never expected to happen, but it has been a wonderful, wonderful experience for me. And I learned a lot about life, living in a foreign country even, and the different rules and regulations and, how people live. And I learned how spoiled we are here in America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we
It
forget.
is true. It
you know.
is true. Like I spent 6 months there when I studied abroad. It was like my first time like leaving the country also. And it's something about like just being there in a different space, also on your own and kind of developing your life there. But it's people live so differently there. And you're right, because we are kind of spoiled here in a way, but it's just knowing like things are slower there and taking their time. And like, I mean, I just remember walking at nighttime one time and just saw these two older ladies walking. I'm like, could we do that at home? I don't know. But even like dinners are late, but it's all about that conversation and just like awareness, and not just like, let me eat my food and then get out of here and on to the next. It's like spending time. And they bring families together too, which I love. It's like the families, it's
very important.
It's very important to them. And it's just such an amazing culture, and I need to get back there.
And I love sitting out at the bistro.
Yes. And just
going to the coffee shop and
yes.
Like you said. And it was just so laid back. And, you know, we're always in the hustle and bustle of life and everything, and not having time. They don't eat in their cars.
No.
They are going to have a meal. They're going to sit down with their friends. They're going to invite the whole family. Everyone's coming, and you're going to have your wine, and you're going to have a good time, and you're going to enjoy your meal and
live.
Yes. And it was just so refreshing. Like you said, take a deep breath and slow down. And just like, I would be like, oh my God, we got to go. They were like, aspetta. Don't worry. We're going to get there. Manja. I'm like, oh my Lord.
But that's how we should live. It's still going to be there when it's still happening.
Exactly.
I love it.
You are so right. It's like, it gave me a whole other perspective on life. And I'm just so grateful that I had the opportunity to live this life of a vocalist and a teacher, because I didn't even know I was a teacher, actually, because, you know, you can be great in something that you do, but not be able to be a good teacher. And I found that I love teaching. I get excited to see the progress of the students, and it's just the encouragement to encourage them. And my youngest student was 6 years old. I had 2 6-year-olds. They were fantastic, Sophia and Frederico. And I was their first teacher, and their parents said that they wanted them to study with me specifically because they wanted them to have a first good experience of being with a teacher. And Frederico was just amazing. He was so funny. He was a cool little boy, I tell you. He was not afraid, and he had a voice too. And so did Sophia. She had a good voice, and they, you know, it was just, like I said, and those are things that I did that I didn't have planned on. I didn't plan on being a teacher. I didn't plan on being a vocal teacher or a vocal coach and doing vocal seminars. And I was trained for it in America without knowing that I was going to be doing that as my livelihood. Because when I was in church, they made me the director of a choir. And I was like, I don't know how to direct a choir. They're like, you'll be fine. But little did I know that down the road, years later, I would be living in a foreign country, also teaching gospel music and teaching choir and just so many things that I said, you know, I could not have asked for anything, but I wouldn't change a thing, really. I wouldn't change a thing. And sometimes it was lonely because, you know, also another thing I learned is being being in the spotlight. You like Michael said, you need that private space. Because when you're always touring and traveling, people don't realize how grueling it is and how tiring it is. And, you always have to be up, and when you're talking to people and you've got to, even if I arrive on the stage directly off of the plane, I have to go on that stage and look like, I've been fresh for days.
Well, and I'll say, like, this may be the one time someone gets to see me perform. This may be their first and only experience. And I owe them to come with a certain level of energy and passion.
Exactly.
And I don't want to cheat anybody, and I want to make the most of every experience. And then the flip side of that is to have a safe place to let yourself down as a performer. And
Yes.
it's hard for people to really understand. You get so used to performing. It's rare for you to have people that you get to just sit back and be totally authentic with, or who will let you release, let you not be on, right?
Exactly.
And so that can be very it's funny because some of the most famous people, the people who do the biggest performances, it can be very isolating. It can make you
Yeah.
lonely. It can play with your mental health, and you have to have
And
that support structure.
you are absolutely 100% correct. And like I tell some of my closest friends that, even though I may not be a celebrity on TV and all of that stuff, or at a high level, but at my level, I am still like a celebrity. And like you said, it's like you have to have that time where, sometimes I just don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. I don't have turn the music on in the house. I just want everything to be quiet, to be silent, where I can just sit there. I can sit in a room for hours in just silence and be happy and be satisfied. But like you said, it's also, it can become very dangerous mentally because I also found that it's hard for me to trust people because a lot of times, people get caught up in the, per se, the glamour of it, and they just want to be, I just want to be around Habaka. I just want to be with her to show that I know her and I'm with her. And so it's like, you don't really know if this person really, really does like me, or they're just wanting to, hang out with me because it shows that they know Habaka KFJ,
Right.
Right.
And so I do have a hard time a lot of times of really trusting someone. And, but I believe people, what they say. I do. And my mom used to tell me I was so gullible. I
It's
said, well,
okay.
Mom, I'm not gullible. It's just that I believe what you say. If you, whatever you're telling me, I believe it's true. Now, if it turns out not to be true, of course, I'm devastated and saddened by it. But I always want to give the person the benefit of the doubt. And when you said also about performing and giving your best, I did a concert one time where the community, the council there, they forgot to do the advertising. They thought that the other city official was doing the advertising, and the other city official thought they were doing. And we arrived to this beautiful venue. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous. And there were 2 people there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but those 2 people came, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
You know
right.
Those
what?
2 people
That's
came.
true.
That is
Came, and
true.
you know what?
Yeah,
I did my show just as if it was 1,000 people
that's
there.
right. Yeah,
And they were like, wow, you acted like we were. I said, well, you're just as important as
That's
anyone
right.
else. You're here.
that's right.
So I need to give you what you came for. And this is what I do. And it doesn't matter that it's only 2 people. I love you the same. And this is what I do, and they were really shocked.
You know,
And the band was
oh,
shocked too. The band was like, what? We're going to do that? I'm like, yes, they're here.
say
They're
everybody
there.
set up.
Exactly. I'm like, we're here already. So let's just do it. Let's have fun and do it.
You know,
And
Habaka, I have. I was thinking about you being in Italy, and I know this is a dark moment for you because of the tragic accident that happened to you while you were living in Italy. So let's go to that moment. You know, I know it's pretty dark, but I'm sure it'll help a lot of people out here to know what happened and then how you decided to have your natural store as well.
Okay, I was living out in the country in Italy, and I was moving out there, and it was a two-story uh, uh, townhome. And in Italy, they don't clean the apartments and houses and stuff when you're going to be moving in. You have to do all that yourself. So I went over there. I'm cleaning up, and they had these Venetian blinds in the window that were, I think they were maybe were there 100 years. And so I was like, oh my goodness. But, without even thinking about it, I was like, okay, I'm just going to take the measurements and I'm going to take these down. I'm going to run down to the mall and order some new blinds. That's where my head was. It was August. And in August in Italy, everyone goes on vacation in the month of August. So everything is closed and there are no people around. And I was in a cul-de-sac actually. And my car, I could park my car right in front of my door. And so I went into the apartment. I'm cleaning up. I go up on the second floor and there are no screens on the window also. And I open the window. I'm so dramatic. I open the window. I open the window and I get up on the ladder. I climb to the very top of the ladder as far as you can go. And I'm trying to get this blind out, this Venetian blind out. And when it finally gave way, I lost my balance and I fell out of the window.
Mm.
So in Italy, I don't know if you know, being on the second floor in Italy was like being on the third or fourth floor because it's very, very high. And as I was falling out of the window, I was like, wow, okay, this is how I'm going to die. Okay, a freak accident. I can see the headlines. American gospel blues vocalist falls out of the window. And I'm like, Lord, I'm not ready to go yet. And my acrobatics kicked in because, as I told you, I was an acrobatics as a teenager and dancer. And so as I'm falling out of the window, my car is right there. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe if I just reach out and stretch, I can break the fall instead of just splatting all over the pavement. And so I reached out to break the fall. And then I was like, well, maybe I can even grab the car door handle, right? To hold on to it. And it was the type that you lift up. I was like, okay, well, that's out. That's out. Okay. That's out. But at the same time, all of this is going on for this fall. And I fall. I'm in between my car and I did reach out. And so I'm stuck in between and I have to let go. I can't just stay like that. I have to let go. And so it was either my head hitting the ground or my chest hitting the ground. And so I lifted my head up as far as I could and I let go and I hit the ground with my chest. And I laid there about 30 minutes because I didn't know if I had any broken bones or anything. So I was afraid to stand up. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm still here. I think I'm still here. So once I stood up and got up, I was really in shock from that fall. And I went back inside and started mopping the floor. And I was crying and I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you. And I didn't go to the hospital till the next day. Well, when I went to the hospital the next day, they said all of my chest muscles were stripped apart, and
Mm.
that there's nothing they could do about that. That has to mend back together on its own. And my shoulder was almost out of socket. I couldn't really lift my hand. And they did the X-ray, and they were like, "We need to operate right now." And I was like, "No, no, no, no. I don't want to. I don't want you to operate right now." So they gave me a neck brace because, like I said, I really stretched my neck to not for my head not to hit the ground. And I went to a holistic doctor. I found a holistic sports doctor, and I took my X-rays to him to see if, in fact, I could avoid having the surgery. And he looked at it and he says, "I think we can do this without you having to have surgery." So I went to him for about 6 months getting shots in my shoulder, and everything was done on the computer where it analyzes your bodies, your fluids, and what you need. And then he would make a holistic tincture for me as well to take. And also, the other part of the therapy was massage treatments, hot oil treatments to my neck, and just massaging the muscles in the back. And as God would have it, I had two friends who were in my gospel choir who were physical therapists. So I went to them for the massages, and I cried for 3 months, like every 5 minutes, just from the trauma of it all. And it took 5 years for my chest muscles to go back together. And every time, I could be doing something and make a turn or a move, and I could feel like it was like I was having a heart attack or something. But I believe that if I had not been into natural health as I was, then it would have been really, really, really bad, really bad. But I drink a lot of holistic, natural herbal teas and loose teas and stems and wood and all this, as people would look at it and think that. But I do drink a lot of those type of teas. And so my insides was healthy. And from that point on, then having that trauma to my chest, it made my chest area very, very sensitive to the different changes of temperature, so I literally, I was beginning to get sick quite a bit from different changes of temperature, and because touring and you're on the outside, you're inside, and the heat and the cold and all this stuff. And so I had to learn how to pace myself or try to always keep my chest warm, because the doctor said I had to try to keep my chest at a certain temperature to keep it warm so I don't build up a lot of fluid and mucus. And I did end up with walking pneumonia as well. And I was in the hospital for 2 weeks on oxygen. And when they found out that I was a vocalist, they told me, "Oh my God." And they did it. My first week, the antibiotics didn't work, and they didn't understand why. So they evaluated the mucus and everything. And they said, "Well, we found out that you, from birth, you were born with one lung extremely larger than the other. So you have a postnasal drip, and when it gets full, you get ill." And then all of that made sense to me, because as a child, I was always sick with bronchitis and, tonsillitis and always those type of ailments. And I lived in the hospital. And that's actually what got me started on searching out for natural remedies, because I was always in the hospital. And that was the beginning journey of me being a natural girl and seeking out natural healing And then the doctors told me, they said, we have you on the best oxygen that there is. And I was like, the best oxygen?
What does that mean?
As opposed to average or bad oxygen. Like, this is one of those areas sometimes when doctors make you promises where you go, I'm going to say thank you, but I'm not really
with the
sure.
mask on, and I'm like, the best oxygen. There's a difference in oxygen.
Yeah. Maybe they meant percentage-wise.
Right.
And for
And
you
they
as
were
a
like, yes, there is a difference. We are giving you the highest quality. And I was like, wow. And I tell you, I had friends coming to visit me, and they said, you look like you're aging backwards while you're in here. And I said, well, maybe it's the oxygen.
That's the oxygen right there.
well, there could be some of that, some antioxidant stuff. As a singer, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that people realize if they haven't used their body in that way, but everything you do goes through your diaphragm and your chest. So to land on that and then have this be your literally not only your livelihood, but kind of your existence. It's your expression. It's your vehicle, right? Kind of how you expose and share with the world. What was that process like for you? It's got to be terrifying. And then to heal it, what are the things you suggest for people?
Well, actually, it was terrifying for me. And even, speaking about it, I get all choked up because just like I said, just from the thought of all of the things that could have occurred, falling out of the window. One, I could have been deceased. Two, I could have been crippled. Three, I could have, just not ever in my life be able to sing again. There are just so many things that went on in my head. And, and I actually, the very next day with my neck brace on, I went and did a gospel concert.
It's amazing.
Wow.
You're dedicated, Habaka. You were definitely dedicated.
Yes. And well, because, when I was falling out of the window, I told the Lord, I'm not ready to stop singing. And I
he
said,
blessed you.
If you keep me, I will not stop singing.
Oh, beautiful.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah, because you wasn't doing it for you, Habaka. You were doing it for everyone else. And that was healing for yourself and the people that was there to actually hear, your passion. And that's why I'm pretty sure you get upset about a whole lot of things that you're thinking of right now. I mean, I can't imagine what you actually, what you've gone through. But I do know your passion for music. And I know that your passion is for therapy, to heal. And it's not just you, it's everybody. It's a global, passion for you.
It's a global passion. And, it's hard for people to really believe that they can be healed holistically. Because, of course, yes, I tell people sometimes you do need to go to the hospital, you need to go to the doctor, but as much as possible, you want to do everything that you can first to heal yourself holistically and to treat your body in a natural way and give the food that it needs and the nutrients and the vitamins that it needs. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean if you're healthy that you're twiggy.
Right.
Because even with that, people are so caught up on weight and this and that and the other. However, your weight also has a lot to do with your mental state, how you're doing. And, all of those other things just combined together with your weight can also, even if you're eating right, some people's metabolisms are extra fast and they can eat one steak and it'll burn up in 5 minutes, So it's like, it just depends on your body, the person, but you always want to be thinking in a way of, what am I putting in? Is it going to benefit me? Is it going to help me down the road? Or, I even had an incident where I was in a vehicle and the wire from the radio caught on fire and it burned into my leg. I know,
Wow.
right? I know.
Oh my goodness.
But because I was a natural girl, when I went to the emergency, they wrapped it up and everything, and they said, well, tomorrow you have to come back, and it's a 3rd-degree burn. It's going to be ugly. The skin's going to fall off, and this and that and the other. So I went home, and I have this book, a natural book that I picked up and found when I was 18. I still have it today. It's called Back to Eden, and by Jethro Kloss. And I looked it up, and it said for a 3rd-degree burn to put cayenne pepper on it.
Wow.
So I opened the bandage and I put a tablespoon of cayenne pepper on it and wrapped it back up. And when I went back to that facility the next day and they removed that bandage, it was completely healed. It looked like a cat scratch.
Wow.
And the skin didn't fall off. Nothing occurred. And the doctor was like, what did you do? And I was like, well, I put some cayenne pepper on it. And she said, no, what else did you do? I said, well, I drink a lot of natural teas. And she's like, oh, okay, you're healthy on the inside.
Well,
So
that's part of it, right? Like, I think this is one of the things that we don't, there's a couple things I want to kind of go back to that you said, but one of them is, we do this thing where we imagine that we know, or that a medication that is a pharmaceutical is necessarily the first or the best choice. And I think everything we need on this planet was already here. We are
Right.
natural beings. There are natural cures. I think, we almost need to rediscover kind of old knowledge. I know the three of us talk about it all the time, but it sounds like that has been a gift in your life.
It has been a gift in my life. And I have had so many, I guess some people would maybe call it a miracle. I've had so many experiences of things that have occurred in my life, and I have been able to do it naturally. And that's why I keep so many teas with me. I always have them with me, even when I'm traveling, because it's so easy to do. You just get a cup of hot water, put it in there, and, let it steep, and you drink it. But I'm telling you, even when I was sick with walking pneumonia, I didn't know I was sick with walking pneumonia, but I did a concert the day before I went into the hospital. And I was singing and fine. And, before that, I was like, oh my God, I can't breathe or whatever. But I went on that stage and everything changes for me. And so, but just the gift of, like you said, everything that we need, we have it. And also, you have to believe.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's
We
the
talk about-
other secret. You have to believe that you can heal. If you don't believe that you can heal, you are not going to heal. And so, but you have to believe that this is for you and it's going to heal you. It may not be overnight. It may be a long journey, but it doesn't mean that it's over. It doesn't mean it's over. And it doesn't mean that you cannot be healed, because you can. You can. It might take time, and sometimes it happens quickly. Sometimes it doesn't. And also, maybe during that time of the transition, maybe you needed to learn something. And maybe you needed to go through it so you can help someone else who's going through the same thing that you're going through. So all of those things, the universe is really tricky. It's like sometimes it will take you through things in life, but if you look at it on the good side, then you can help someone else. And because I know from experience, so I can only say what I know what happened to me. I don't know if it's going to happen for you, but I know what happened for me when I drink the teas that I drink, when I pray, when I do my breathing exercise, when I meditate. Those are the things that help me to continue and it opens your heart. And, we all grow up with things in our hearts that we have to get rid of. We have to heal from a lot of things, also from childhood. And, sometimes we may not even know that until we're going through something. And it might, like I said, a surprise. It might hit you and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that I was still harboring that hurt or whatever it was that you experienced. But all of those things also have to do with your health and your well-being. As it's the heart. Your heart has to be clear.
And speaking of heart, you're absolutely right. I know that you loved Italy because you told me how much you loved it. But then there came a time in life where you actually had to close your store and leave Italy to go back to the States. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I had opened up my little natural store right in the heart of Cremona, Italy. And it was a little natural store, a little soap store, actually. It was a soap store, natural soaps. And I also had essential oils and body oils, massage oils, facial product, creams for your face and everything. And my mom, I had my store for 6 years, actually. And my mom got ill with uterine cancer. And so I had to go home because as I said earlier, I'm an only child. And so I went home to take care of her. And thank God right now, today, she's cancer free, doing well.
Wonderful.
And
That's great.
Awesome.
yes, she's
Wonderful.
doing fantastic. And I've always had her taking all types of natural stuff and drinking natural tea. She's like, oh my God, what is this now? I'm like, Mom, just drink it. It's going to help you. But she's always, oh goodness, what is this now? I'm like, it's going to help you. And one time she went to the doctor and she's like, well, the doctor said I might not be able to walk taking this medicine. I'm like, well, then why do you want to take it if you're not going to be able to walk? You need to be able to walk.
Right.
I said, you go right back to him and tell him your daughter said no, thank you. Because if you're not going to be able to walk, you can't take that medication. Oh my goodness, what is that? So anyway, I went home. I ended up being with my mother. I actually thought I was going to only be there about a month. And I ended up being there with her for 6 years because it was a long process for the chemo and radiation. And at first they said that she wasn't going to need it. And then after they did the surgery, they said, no, just to be on the safe side, we think she should do it. And so I ended up staying there 6 years. But, the blessing of all of that is that me being an independent artist and self-employed, my own manager myself, that allotted me the freedom to go home and just stop. I didn't have to get permission or worry about losing my job and of course that was my mother. So it really didn't matter to me what was going to happen because I was going to go home and take care of my mom and be with her. And so I'm just really grateful that after doing that and staying with her for 6 years, that I was able to return back home to my home in Italy and pick up where I left off because, thank God I'm a great vocalist.
Go on and pat yourself on the back now.
Go ahead and pat yourself on the back. you know, sometimes you just have to do it.
Yes.
I rarely pat myself on the back, but that time I felt, But yes, thank God I'm a great vocalist. So I really was really fortunate in that aspect because I'm in high demand in Italy. So it doesn't matter how long I leave from there, I have established roots and relationships as well with promoters and club owners, and they just love what I do. They love me. They love the response. I always get a great turnout when I'm there. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so being able to help my mom was everything. And even though I lost my store, it's okay. But I got to experience having the store. That was one of the things on my bucket list. It was in my dream to have my own store and I was actually able to experience having my own store, and it did well. And I helped a lot of people as well through natural soaps. I grew up using natural soaps all my life because I have really sensitive skin. I mean, I can't even use deodorant, so I use a clear rock. It's like a salt rock that I use as deodorant because regular deodorant just makes my underarm pits like split open and pus and all kinds of stuff. So I'm just been a natural girl for a long time, and that's why I know that it works, So
Right.
I try to tell people now, whether they believe it or not. Like I said, it's hard for people to believe that sometimes when you're just whatever and I understand that too because we're taught certain things. We grow up certain ways, and sometimes it's hard to change. But all I know is I can share what I know, and hopefully the person will try it, and hopefully they will get excellent results.
Right. And then your dad, I think about you because most people in their lifetime, they may be a caregiver to one person. But for
Mhm.
you, it was actually both of your parents that you had to be a
Exactly.
caregiver for. So let's talk about your dad a little bit and what you had to go through with him. And then actually, any advice that you can give to caregivers that's in that same situation.
Okay. Yes. Well, um, let's go to 2014. Um, I went to Atlanta to visit my mom for vacation. And the very next day, I received a phone call. My dad lived in Las Vegas. And I received a phone call from the hospital saying that I needed to come to Vegas and that they were not going to release him unless he was with a family member. And I was like, well, what is that about? I just talked to him yesterday. He told me he was fine. And so they were like, well, you just need to come here so we can talk to you and da 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 da. So I said, okay, well, give me a few days. And I packed my bags and I came to Las Vegas, and I found out that my dad had dementia and Alzheimer's. And literally overnight, I became his caregiver and his nurse, and he was fine, but he just had dementia. I mean, and really that too, having a loved one or knowing someone that has dementia and Alzheimer's, you may not know that they have it because evidently he had dementia for quite some time, but he didn't know it. I didn't know it because you can still carry on a conversation with the person. And if they're talking to you about something that they know, they can carry on that conversation like everything is fine. And you just don't realize that they're sick. And then when I went and I thought back on it, I was like, wow, okay. He said 5 years ago he said to me one time when we were talking on the phone, he's like, I'm going to BB King's doctor. He said, and I'm telling him I want those memory pills. It didn't dawn on me what he was talking about. And, but that's was the beginning of it, I suppose, because he was like, because I can't remember nothing. He says, but BB King takes these memory pills and I'm going to take those. I'm going to go to his doctor and get that. And so I came here. He didn't even know what was going on. And when he saw me, he's like, why are you here? I was like, well, because they're telling me that I need to stick around a little while and just hang out with you. And he's like, I'm fine. I don't need you here, baby girl. I was like, no, Daddy, I'm going to have to stay. Then they told me that he could not drive the car anymore. That was very difficult to tell him that he wouldn't be able to drive anymore. And he wanted to, of course, he was upset about it. And so we're leaving the house, going to the store. And what I did with him is I still treated him as if he was okay. And I still treated him, even though I knew that he had Alzheimer's and dementia, I just, loved on him. And also, in order to make him understand certain things, sometimes you have to let people just do certain thing to understand that they can't do it. So, because what happens with dementia is you can start out, how to back out of the garage. But if you get confused within that small amount of time, this is where the confusion will come in. And then you just don't know what you're doing and all hell breaks loose. It's like, this is where you just don't know what's going on. And so he wanted to drive the car to the store. And I said, no, you can't drive the car. And he says, I'm going to drive this car. It's my car. Blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, okay, Dad, let's go. I'm going to let you drive, but let's go. So he's backing out. And I'm telling him, I said, turn to the left because you're going to hit the garage door. I got this. I said, okay, you're getting ready to hit the garage door. So he tears up the garage door. And I said, okay, now we're going to have to get the garage door fixed and then we can go to the store. So he didn't say anything. They fixed the garage door. And then I said, okay, are you ready to, let's go get the keys. Let's go. He's like, so he says to me, I think I'm going to let you drive. I said, okay, wonderful. And I never had any problems with him after that because I had to let him see that he could not do it. And another thing that I did that was so helpful to me in helping my dad through his Alzheimer's and dementia was I took an online course for Alzheimer's and dementia at the Alzheimer's Association. And they have a course because there are certain things that you have to know how to handle the person. And, arriving and seeing my dad as himself. And then within 5 months, putting a diaper on him. He had dwindled to a vegetable. That and me having to bathe him and help him to the restroom and all of those things. And I remember him telling me, he said, baby girl, it's a hard thing when you are losing your mind and you can't do anything about it. But he said to me, but I will never forget who you are. And that just really touched my heart. And it was the best thing for me. And I say that only because I did not grow up with my father. And I knew him, and my mom took me to his concerts and all that stuff. And I spent time with him when he was on vacation. but I didn't really spend a lot of time with him throughout my life. But those 5 months was a gift because we were able to learn about each other and really know each other. And I learned a lot about him. He learned a lot about me. And he was really grateful that I was able to take care of him. And there again, me being in the position of being an independent artist, I was able to walk away from my work and come and take care of my father. And I was able to see him through to his last breath. And he had a great life. And he said the same thing. He told me, I lived a great life. I did everything I wanted to do. And he was a musician all his life. And he looked at me and he said, "Oh my God, you're just like me." I'm like, duh. I've only been trying to tell you about this 20 years, Dad, that I'm a vocalist.
What a beautiful gift you gave him.
Yeah.
What a beautiful gift. Like, I hope that you've taken a little time to kind of celebrate that and to realize what a beautiful gift you gave him. Because it's an
Thank you.
incredibly hard road to be a caregiver, to make your world center around somebody else with compassion, to try and help somebody manage and heal and take care of them in that way. And I want you to
Thank
know
you.
that it's acknowledged. It takes a lot of strength, a lot of compassion, empathy.
Yes. It's really, and even with that, that was a learning experience as well, because when someone has dementia in the beginning, you don't realize that they have it, or you yourself may be in denial too, that they actually have dementia. And what dementia is that the brain shrinks down to the size of a prune. So the time that it takes for the brain to shrink to that size is the years that they have to be with you. And when I learned all the stuff about dementia and how to react and how not to get upset because they become confused, and I didn't sleep for a long, many, many weeks on end, because you have to really be attentive, because anything can happen within a few seconds, just like having a child. And one time he went into the bathroom and I thought he was fine. And then I realized that, maybe 45 minutes had gone by and he was still in the restroom. And so I went and I said, "Daddy, are you all right?" And he told me he could not remember how to open the door.
Oh, wow.
So even things like that, because he was fine when he went in to the bathroom, but when he got ready to come out, he became confused. And I didn't know. I was sitting in there, and I didn't know. But I realized, I'm like, oh my goodness, he's been in there for quite some time. And so that's how you have to stay attentive. And he fell a couple of times. I had to call the fire department because he was a small man, but dead weight is very, very hard. It took 5 people to pick him up off the floor. And so the fire department, they came several times to help me. And I tell you, thank God for them. And they were good to look at too.
There it is.
Like a commercial.
Boom.
That was something I was not expecting, people. Okay. I was not prepared for what I saw
Oh my
walking my door.
goodness.
It was like a commercial. It was 8 men coming through the door, and they're all buffed, and I was like,
Music in the background, slow motion.
music in the background. I was stuck in my tracks just looking. I'm like,
The eye candy.
eye candy. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Speaking of the eye candy, speaking of the eye candy,
fire department. Oh my goodness, eye candy.
Look, Habaka, speaking of the eye candy, we are twinning right now on the eyewear. I wonder how we're twinning. Would you like to tell everyone?
Well, we're twinning on the eyewear because this is actually my eyewear line, Habaka KFJ. And my eyewear is handmade in Italy and has my name in it. And it says handmade in Italy. And I just, I'm a cat. And I'm a cat. And even in Cremona, Italy, they call me the Panther of Cremona. And because they actually compare me to a incredible vocalist there, Italian vocalist named Mina, and she came from Cremona, and they called her the Tiger of Cremona. So they compared me to Miss Mina, which is an honor for me, and they coined me as the Panther of Cremona. Now, Cremona, Italy, is in North Italy. And it's the small little town of violins. So that's where all the violin shops are, and the school for making violins is, and the Stradivarius is. And it's just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But anyway, this eye candy is actually my own eyewear line, which I really don't talk about it much. I guess there again, that part of being shy, introvert. People do have my eyewear because maybe they found it on my website, but
I saw yours and I wanted it.
Exactly. You saw mine and you wanted it and you got it, girl.
I sure did.
And they look fabulous on you.
Actually,
I saw her photograph promoting Lovesick, and I was like, oh, those are some nice glasses she has on.
And then you realize, right?
And I didn't realize that they were mine. And when I zoomed in, I was like, are those my glasses? But I was like, wow, those look great on her. And I said, you look fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you. So look, we're going to wrap up. How can people contact you?
They can contact me through, I am on Instagram at The Real Habaka Music. And so if you see Habaka Music, do not go to that page because that page has been hacked. Okay. And so they hacked all my pages last summer. I'm starting over. So it's The Real Habaka Music, Habaka Music. And I also have a little health page as well on Instagram. And it's called at The Real Honey Be Vibrant. Because I call all of my my lovers of music who love Habaka music, they are all my honeybees.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah. Okay.
Everyone is my honeybee.
I love that.
I like that. I like that. And, before we go, Habaka, can you give us a positive message for our audience, our viewers, and people that are watching in English and in Italian?
Yes, I think I can do that.
We have to reach our Italian audience, so
we have to reach our Italian audience. And I just wanted to say as well, you can also reach me at my website, of course, at www.habakakfj.com.
Okay.
And you'll find everything about me right there. So also, I would just say to everyone, don't give up. Don't give up no matter what is going on, no matter what it looks like, because things can change. Sometimes it seems like it changed overnight, even though you may know it didn't change overnight. I was very ill. I got sick with a virus about 1.5 years ago, and I have been fighting that virus with my chest up until right now, this very moment. And I am finally back to normal. I'm able to breathe because having caught pneumonia, I also developed a small case of asthma from the trauma. And I got very sick with this asthma where it seemed like it just tripled and I could not breathe whatsoever. And so I started drinking my teas and researching on teas for your lungs. Hyssop, I'm going to tell you that little tip, HYSSOP. Hyssop tea is great for anyone with lung issues and asthma and inflammation, and those sort of things. And it works because I'm here today to let you know I'm breathing. Okay. I haven't used my inhalers for over 2 months now.
Okay.
So I just want to say to everyone, don't give up. You're here for a reason. And you never know how you can help someone else in your testimony. So I would say also in Italian, non mai dimenticare di essere presente. Non mai dimenticare di fare tutto tu sogni. So I said, don't ever forget your dream as well. Don't ever forget your dream. And we never know the small thing that we might think is silly will be that very thing that will save someone. So don't be afraid to open your mouth. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to the choir. So don't be afraid to open your mouth. Non faccio paura di aprire la bocca. Dirlo tutte le cose, tu devi dirlo alla gente per aiutarlo. And loro strada deve essere buoni. And with that, I love you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me to Lovesick. I love that name.
She loves the name too. I told her you thought of it.
Yes, I love that name. And as I always say, it's honeylicious.
Well, thank you, Habaka.
Thank you so much.
We enjoyed your show and we enjoyed your journey, your testimony, and we're sure that everyone else will do the same. Thank you, Habaka.
Thank you.